The massive holographic display flickered to life in the Earth Defense Force Command Center, filling the darkened room with a sea of red dots. Each dot represented an Imperial warship, appearing at an alarming rate as they closed in on Earth's solar system. The screen showed a growing swarm of vessels, nearly 3,500 and rising rapidly. Captain James Miller, his face weathered from 20 years of service, stood before the display. His eyes narrowed, analyzing the incoming fleet. The glow from the holographic map cast an eerie light over his features, highlighting the tension etched into his expression. He had seen many challenges in his career, but nothing quite like this. "Sir, we're detecting more ships entering the system," reported Officer Robert Brown from his station, his voice tight with urgency. He didn't need to explain further. The numbers were climbing too fast. "Current count is 3,547 vessels and rising." Miller kept his face impassive, his mind working rapidly. The situation was grim, but he knew this wasn't the time for panic. The Earth Defense Force Command Center, a hub of calm and precision, hummed with the quiet efficiency of dozens of operators maintaining Earth's advanced defense systems. These officers had trained for scenarios like this countless times. But this was no drill. This was the real thing. "How much time until they reach Neptune's orbit?" Captain Miller asked, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. He stared at the rapidly advancing Imperial fleet, trying to predict the trajectory of the incoming ships. "At their current speed, for hours, sir," Brown replied, eyes glued to his console. Miller nodded. He had expected a confrontation sooner or later, but the sheer scale of the Imperial fleet was unexpected. This wasn't just a raid or skirmish. It was an invasion. A few seconds later, Captain Miller reached for his command console and pressed the golden button that would send an emergency alert to the United Defense Council. Within moments, the screens on the command center's wall flickered to life, showing the faces of military leaders from across Earth. General Lisa Ward, the head of the council, appeared first. Her expression was calm but focused, and she immediately took charge of the communication. "Captain Miller, report," General Ward said, her voice carrying an edge of authority. "Ma'am, the Imperial fleet has arrived exactly as our intelligence predicted. Their numbers are higher than expected, nearly 4,000 ships now. They're maintaining formation and moving slowly, likely trying to intimidate us with a show of force," Miller replied, keeping his tone measured. He knew better than to show fear. That was the first mistake any leader made in moments like this. The command center's AI assistant, Atlas, projected a detailed analysis beside the fleet display. The Imperial ships, as expected, were made up primarily of Dreadnought-class warships with several smaller support vessels. The energy signatures confirmed what they already knew: standard Imperial weaponry, far more advanced than anything Earth had ever encountered. Before the Council could respond, a new signal cut through Earth's communication channels, causing a ripple of unease across the command center. The Imperial message was broadcast across all frequencies, impossible to ignore. A tall figure appeared on the main screen, his pale blue skin and multiple eyes marking him as one of the ruling species of the Empire. His ornate military decorations gleamed in the light, signaling his high rank within the Imperial hierarchy. "People of Earth," the alien ambassador's voice rang out, his translation clear but chilling. "I am High Commander Pell of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your civilization has been deemed worthy of joining our glorious empire. Submit peacefully, and you shall be granted the privileges of Imperial citizenship. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate our power." The council members exchanged glances, some with a flicker of uncertainty, others steeling themselves for what was to come. General Ward, however, was unfazed. This wasn't the first time the Empire had made such an offer, and it certainly wasn't the first time Earth had rejected them. The ambassador's many eyes blinked, and a faint tone of surprise filled his voice. "You misunderstand," Pell said, his voice taking on a warning edge. "This is not a negotiation. The Empire has claimed this system. You have 6 Earth hours to begin your surrender process." Captain Miller, watching the scene unfold, exchanged a glance with General Ward. She didn't flinch, not even slightly. In fact, She gave a slight smile, the same kind of smile that had preceded some of humanity's greatest moments. A smile that said, "We're not intimidated by you." "No, High Commander," General Ward responded, her voice calm and unwavering. "You misunderstand. Earth is not surrendering. In fact, we are declaring this entire system off-limits to Imperial forces. You have 6 hours to withdraw your fleet." The ambassador blinked again, this time with clear signs of confusion. He was used to hearing fear, to seeing civilizations buckle under pressure. This was something new. "You cannot be serious. Your primitive civilization cannot hope to—" The transmission abruptly cut off as General Ward interrupted. "6 hours, Commander. We will consider any ships remaining in our system after that deadline to be hostile forces." A tense silence fell over the command center. Miller allowed himself a small, confident smile. The Empire had no idea what they were up against. Earth wasn't some helpless primitive world. It was humanity's fortress, a system defended by technology that made the Empire's best weapons look like toys. And Captain James Miller was about to make sure the Empire learned that lesson the hard way. The next 6 hours would change the galaxy forever. As the final minutes of the countdown ticked down, Admiral Thomas Wright stood at the main window of the orbital defense station, his gaze fixed on Earth below. The blue planet hung in space, beautiful and fragile. Wright, a seasoned officer with decades of experience, knew what was coming next. The Empire had a predictable pattern, one they followed every time. "Admiral," Lieutenant Jan Cooper called out from her station. "A single Imperial warship has broken off from their fleet. Is heading toward Earth at high speed." Wright nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Right on schedule," he muttered. The Empire never could resist showing off. "Begin Defense Protocol Alpha. Let's show them our first surprise." The massive Imperial warship drew closer to Earth, its sleek design gleaming in the light of the sun. At nearly 3 kilometers long, it was a formidable sight, intended to strike fear into the hearts of primitive civilizations. But this time there was no fear, only a quiet determination to show the Empire exactly what they were dealing with. The Imperial ship's weapon ports suddenly opened, and the charging of its energy weapons filled the air with a bright purple glow. "Sir," Lieutenant Jan Cooper called out, her voice strained with urgency. "They're broadcasting again." "Same ambassador. He's back on the screen." The ambassador's face appeared on the main display once more, his pale blue skin and numerous eyes unsettling in their stillness. His voice, now tinged with frustration, rang out across Earth's defense channels. "Since you refuse to see reason," he began, his tone dark and threatening, "we will provide a small demonstration of Imperial power. Perhaps then you will understand your situation better." Admiral Thomas Wright stepped forward, his gray uniform as crisp as ever. His eyes remained steady, unfazed by the growing tension in the room. "Fire when ready, Commander," he said, his voice low and commanding. Then, with a slight smile, he added, "Though I should warn you, you might not like what happens next." The Imperial warship released its energy beam, and for a moment, everything seemed to stand still. The purple beam streaked across space like a comet, lighting up the darkness with the force of a new star. It slammed into Earth's atmosphere, hurtling toward the surface. The entire command center held its breath as the massive blast hit the shields. But instead of penetrating, the beam splashed against an invisible barrier 50,000 kilometers from Earth's surface, spreading out like water on glass. The shield flickered with a soft blue light, absorbing the massive energy attack as though it were nothing more than a light rain. Inside the Imperial ship's command center, alarms blared. The crew was thrown into disarray. "Impossible!" The ambassador's voice cracked over the comms, clearly in shock. "Scan that shield. How are they?" "Right," Admiral Wright commanded, his voice calm as ever. "Show them what Earth can do." With that order, a tiny defense satellite, previously invisible to the Imperial ship sensors, decloaked. It was barely the size of a bus, a fraction of the size of the Imperial warship it was about to face. The satellite's blue energy beam shot out, striking the Imperial ship's hull. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, all the lights on the enormous warship went dark. Silence descended over the bridge of the Imperial ship. What did you do?" the ambassador demanded, his voice now a mixture of disbelief and panic. The transmission was now illuminated only by the emergency lighting in the Imperial ship's command center. "We switched you off," Wright replied simply. "Don't worry, life support is still running. We're not monsters. But your weapons, engines, and most of your other systems are now offline. Consider this our demonstration." Admiral Wright stepped closer to the screen, his demeanor calm and collected. His next words were firm, but not unkind. "You see, Commander," he said, "while you were busy conquering primitive worlds, Earth was watching, learning, and preparing. We've had 2 centuries to study your technology, to improve upon it, and to develop countermeasures." He gestured to the tiny defense satellite on the screen, which had just disabled the Imperial ship. "That little station just disabled a ship 1,000 times its size, and it's one of our older models. This is impossible," the ambassador muttered, clearly shaken. "You're a pre-FTL civilization. Our intelligence—" "Your intelligence is outdated," Wright interrupted. "Earth passed your level of technology decades ago. We just didn't feel the need to show off about it." The command center was silent for a moment as everyone processed the scale of the reveal. Earth wasn't just surviving anymore. It was thriving, and the Imperial Empire was beginning to realize that they had severely underestimated humanity. In the background, Lieutenant Cooper's console beeped. "Sir, the main Imperial fleet is powering up their weapons," she reported. Wright smiled, his gaze fixed on the retreating Imperial warship. "Let them try, Lieutenant," he said calmly. "Send the signal across Earth's orbit." With that order, thousands of small, elegant defense satellites across the solar system decloaked from their hidden positions. More appeared around the Moon and Mars, each one more advanced and powerful than anything the Empire had ever encountered. Wright's confidence was unshakable. "5 minutes until your deadline," he announced to the stunned ambassador. "I suggest you use your emergency thrusters to rejoin your fleet and leave. Unless you'd like to see what else these primitive humans can do." The disabled Imperial ship's emergency systems slowly began to engage, turning it back toward the fleet as it retreated. Wright watched as the ship slowly made its way back to the Imperial formation. He turned to his crew. "Send word to all Earth defense stations. If they don't withdraw when the deadline hits, we'll show them everything." Wright's eyes remained fixed on the massive Imperial fleet still hovering near Neptune's orbit. Earth's position had been clear from the start. Earth wasn't some helpless world ready to bow down to the Empire. The invasion had been a mistake, and Earth would make sure the Empire learned that lesson. Humanity had been hiding in the shadows for far too long, allowing the Empire to believe they were just another primitive civilization. But those days were over. The next few minutes would either mark the beginning of a peaceful withdrawal or the start of a war that would reshape the galaxy. The countdown hit 0. The Imperial fleet, still near Neptune, remained motionless in orbit, neither advancing nor retreating. In Earth's main defense center, the air was thick with tension, so palpable that it felt like it could be cut with a knife. Meanwhile, on the Imperial flagship, Commander Richard Grant stood on the bridge, watching Earth from afar. His human features were causing quite a stir among the alien officers, as one of the few humans who had left Earth before the isolation policy. Over the past 30 years, he had risen through the ranks of the Empire, but now, facing his home planet, he felt his loyalties being tested. "Sir," an alien officer reported, "our deep scans of Earth's defense systems are being blocked. We can't get any reading on their technology." Grant frowned. When he had left Earth, it was barely more than a world of space stations. Now, it was swatting aside Imperial weapons like flies. "Keep trying," he ordered. "There must be a weakness." Then, a new transmission cut through their communications. Admiral Wright's face appeared on the screen, calm and collected. "Commander Grant," he said, recognizing the human officer. "It's been a long time since you abandoned Earth. A lot has changed since then." Grant stepped forward, his expression hardening. "Admiral, I'm here to negotiate. Surely we can reach an agreement that benefits both sides." There's nothing to negotiate, Wright replied coldly. But since you're one of us, let me explain what you've missed while playing soldier for the Empire. As the screen split, Grant's eyes widened. The views showed massive cities under transparent domes, orbital rings circling the planet, and ships unlike anything the Imperial fleet had. Wright continued, his voice steady and unwavering. 200 years ago, we detected your Empire's expansion. We saw how you... The transmission cut, leaving Grant to absorb the enormity of what Earth had become. The hologram flickered, showing images of an alien craft recovered from the mountains. Dr. Anna Wells, her voice resonating through time, explained the significance of the discovery. Today, we recovered an alien craft from the mountains, she began, her face serious but determined. It's not the first we've found, but it's the most intact, and it confirms what we suspected. We are not alone, and we are far behind. These words, spoken in 1824, would mark the beginning of humanity's most ambitious and secretive undertaking, one that would change the course of human history forever. The video continued, showing footage of the small, but highly advanced Imperial scout ship. Dr. Wells's voice continued to narrate. This vessel is centuries ahead of our current technology. But more importantly, its navigation data shows something terrifying. A vast empire that conquers every civilization it encounters. The recording detailed the grim reality humanity faced upon realizing they were not alone in the universe. An empire that had wiped out countless worlds, growing ever stronger with each conquest. As the footage continued, it showed a growing number of scientists joining the project. Time seemed to pass and fast forward as the secret facility, hidden in the mountains, expanded and evolved. Crashed ships were brought in one by one, each one studied with meticulous care. Humanity had to act. Dr. Wells's voice echoed in the recorded message. We made a decision. We would not reach for the stars until we were ready to protect ourselves. In the present, Admiral Wright, seated in Earth's Defense Command Center, watched alongside the council members, the historical footage playing for the watching Imperial fleet. He had ordered this revelation to be shown to demonstrate exactly why the Empire couldn't win this fight. You see, Wright began, turning his attention from the video to his crew. While the Empire was expanding, Earth was quietly preparing. His words were measured, but every syllable carried a heavy weight. The screen shifted back to the hologram of Dr. Wells. The recording continued to show years of tireless work. Every nation agreed. Dr. Wells's voice continued. Our survival depended on secrecy and preparation. A holographic display of underground cities and hidden bases appeared, showing the vast network of infrastructure that had been built in secret. It was as if humanity had understood the importance of patience. Instead of rushing into the stars, they had focused on laying a foundation that would allow them to stand against any potential threat. By the time the 1840s rolled around, Earth had made its first critical breakthrough, the successful replication of Imperial energy shields. This achievement set the tone for the coming decades of rapid technological growth. We knew we could not stand against the Empire in our current state, Dr. Wells's voice said. But we also knew that we couldn't remain a primitive civilization forever. We would advance, but we would do so quietly, hidden from view. No one could know of our plans. The recording shifted to a small team of scientists huddled over blueprints, their faces set in determination. They were working on energy shields, weapons, propulsion systems, and communication technology, each one more advanced than anything humanity had ever developed before. While Earth quietly built its arsenal, the Empire continued its expansion. The Imperial fleet, believing Earth to be a primitive world, paid no mind to the human race's technological advancements. The Empire never suspected that Earth had been learning from the very technology they had left behind. Dr. Wells's voice once again filled the room, continuing the story of humanity's preparations. While the Empire grew comfortable with its technology, we approached it with fresh eyes, she said. We found flaws, made improvements, and developed entirely new approaches. And over time, we closed the gap. Then we surpassed it. In the Defense Command Center, Admiral Wright paused the recording, his gaze steady. Every time you thought your scout ships were lost to accidents, he spoke to the Imperial fleet, addressing them directly through the screen. we were learning. Every piece of technology you carelessly left behind taught us more. His words struck hard. The Empire, for all its power, had failed to recognize that humanity was not as primitive as they assumed. They had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt and learn. The recording continued, and the images on the screen showed a sprawling network of underground cities, hidden bases, and secret research facilities. Lunar and Mars bases had been established in secret, all while Earth maintained the appearance of a developing pre-space civilization. The defense grid that had been built around Earth's solar system was nearly complete by 1920. Dr. Wells's voice echoed through the years. By the year 1920, we had already surpassed Imperial technology in several areas. But we didn't stop there. We kept building, kept improving, because we knew we would only have one shot at this. The hologram showed the incredible advancements Earth had achieved in secrecy. Quantum shields capable of absorbing even the most powerful energy blasts, weapons designed to disable ships without destroying them, stealth technology that made Imperial sensors look ancient by comparison. Earth had developed the means to protect itself from the Empire's vast arsenal. What the Empire hadn't realized was that humanity had spent over 2 centuries preparing for a fight that, at first, seemed inevitable. What Earth was building wasn't just technology, it was a fortress. The recording paused, and Admiral Wright's voice filled the command center once again. "We had 2 centuries to prepare, Commander," he said, turning toward the viewing screen as if to speak directly to the Imperial officers. "And in that time we built something unprecedented. Something capable of saying no to the Empire. And now, you see, Earth has turned its home into a fortress." The message was clear. Earth was not just ready to defend itself. It was capable of standing against the Empire in ways they had never anticipated. The Imperial fleet, still hovering near Neptune's orbit, had underestimated humanity's resolve. The network of defenses spanning across the solar system was only a fraction of what Earth was capable of. Suddenly, alarms blared from the Imperial flagship. "New readings," an officer reported urgently. "Quantum disturbances throughout the system. They're activating something around every planet, every major moon, and even in the asteroid belt." The Imperial crew exchanged nervous glances, realizing with dawning horror that Earth had not just fortified its own orbit. It had prepared the entire solar system. Wright smiled grimly. "This is just a fraction of what we can do," he said, his voice full of quiet confidence. "We've had centuries to build, Commander. This is our home, and we've turned it into a fortress. The Empire won't win here." The transmission to the Imperial fleet was made. Wright's message was clear and concise. "You have 1 hour to begin your withdrawal. After that, we will be forced to demonstrate our more aggressive capabilities." The transmission ended, and the entire Imperial fleet was left in stunned silence. Commander Richard Grant, who had once been an officer of the Empire, now found himself questioning everything he had believed in. For the first time in his career, he saw his home planet as something more than just a primitive world. It was a force to be reckoned with. As he gazed at Earth's distant blue sphere, he realized that humanity had built something remarkable. Earth was not just refusing to join the Empire, it was declaring itself off-limits. A line had been drawn in space, one that even the mighty Empire could not cross. For the first time in years, Commander Richard Grant felt pride in being human. In Earth's underground facility, Dr. Anna Wells's vision had come to fruition. The world was ready to face the stars, but this time humanity would do so on its own terms. The Empire had thought they could conquer Earth. They had underestimated the strength of a united, prepared humanity. And now, the galaxy would learn that Earth was not just a survivor, it was a contender. The hologram flickered to life, showing the evolution of Earth's greatest achievement, the development of quantum shield technology. Unlike the crude energy shields employed by the Empire, designed to block incoming attacks, Earth's shields absorbed the energy from weapons and redirected it in ways the Empire had never anticipated. The Imperial flagship, stationed at the edge of the solar system, watched this progression with growing realization. Commander Grant stood on the bridge, his mind racing as he came to an unsettling understanding of what he was witnessing. "The primitive satellites we detected," he said quietly, his voice laced with disbelief, They weren't primitive at all. Admiral Wright, standing nearby, nodded in agreement. No, Commander, he said. They were just the tip of the iceberg. While your fleet relied on standard fusion drives, we developed quantum power cores. While you relied on brute force weapons, we created systems that could disable ships without destroying them. The hologram transitioned to show Earth's final preparations over the last decade. The image displayed the placement of hundreds, no, thousands of defensive satellites throughout the solar system, hidden fleets that had been quietly constructed in the shadows of Jupiter's gas storms, and the establishment of a quantum communication network that spanned the entire system. Dr. Wells's final recorded message echoed through the room, now imbued with a gravity that made the audience feel the weight of the decision Earth had made. Whether you are our descendants or the Empire itself, know that humanity chose its path carefully. We didn't hide out of fear, we hid because we were preparing. And when the time came, Earth would not just defend itself. It would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Wright paused the hologram, letting the final words resonate in the room. He turned slowly to face the officers gathered around him. That time is now, he announced, his voice firm, calm, and resolute. You've seen our history. You've witnessed our capabilities. The choice is yours. Leave our system in peace or face everything we've spent 2 centuries building. The command center fell silent. The Empire's officers knew that this was not an empty threat. Earth had spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment, transforming itself into something no one could have imagined. For the first time in its history, the Empire faced an opponent that had outpaced its technology while appearing, to the outside world, to remain a primitive civilization. Now it was the Empire's turn to make a choice: retreat or fight a battle they could not win. The Imperial fleet, instead of retreating, made its decision. They would form a blockade around Earth's solar system. They believed that by encircling the planet, they could starve Earth into submission, forcing humanity to bend to their will. Commander Mary Parker, the leader of Earth's most advanced warship, the EDF Horizon, stood poised on the bridge of the ship. For decades, Earth's fleet had been hidden in plain sight, using the storm clouds of Jupiter to remain undetected by Imperial sensors. Now, as the blockade formed around Earth, it was time to reveal their most powerful surprise yet. All ships, report in, Parker ordered, her voice calm but firm. The response was swift. Ships began powering up their systems, one after another, revealing the full extent of Earth's hidden fleet. The Earth vessels were not as large or as heavily armed as the Imperial ships, but they were something far more dangerous. They were equipped with technologies the Empire had never seen. Imperial fleet is adjusting position, reported First Officer David Turner. They've detected our power signatures. Parker smiled coldly, a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. Right where we want them, she muttered. Send the signal across the galaxy. A transformation unfolded in the background, unseen by the Imperial forces. Earth's quantum communication network, long established in secret, was activated. Hidden relays throughout the solar system were suddenly brought online, and Earth's message began to spread. What happened next was nothing short of unprecedented. Earth's colonies, which had been secretly established within Imperial space, sprang to life. Reports began flooding in from across the galaxy, confirming what Earth's leaders had long suspected. Humanity had spread far beyond the solar system, while the Empire remained blind to their presence. In Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Wright stood as reports poured in. Colonial forces are responding, an officer reported, voice tinged with disbelief. Uprisings are already beginning in the Centauri sector. Proxima Station has already been secured. Earth's hidden colonies, once thought to be nothing more than distant outposts, were now staging uprisings against the Empire. The reports were clear. The Empire had been completely caught off guard. They had never suspected that Earth had quietly established colonies and bases throughout their territory, each one waiting for the moment to strike. Back on the Imperial flagship, Commander Grant looked on in stunned disbelief as reports from across the Empire began pouring in. How? He whispered. How did they do this? The answer arrived moments later, as Commander Parker's fleet emerged from the shadows of Jupiter. Earth's ships moved with a grace and agility that the Imperial fleet could not match. Their quantum drives allowed for maneuvers that the Empire's ships, bound by conventional propulsion systems, could not replicate. "This is Commander Mary Parker of the Earth Defense Force," came the transmission, her voice broadcast across all frequencies. "Your blockade is now surrounded. We suggest you reconsider your position." The Imperial fleet found itself trapped between two formidable forces, Earth's revealed fleet and the planet's defense systems. But Parker wasn't finished. "Activate the gates," she ordered. Across the solar system, quantum portals flickered to life. Earth had not only mastered faster-than-light travel, they had found a way to create stable wormholes, connecting the far reaches of their empire to the heart of the conflict. "Impossible!" An Imperial officer shouted, his voice filled with panic. "Their technology. It surpasses our greatest achievements." Parker's voice rang out again, calm but full of conviction. "No, it's not impossible," she replied, having overheard the officer's outburst. "We simply had something you didn't. Patience. While you conquered through force, we built through ingenuity. While you demanded submission, we prepared for freedom." The Earth fleet moved into attack position, their ships bristling with non-lethal weaponry designed to disable, not destroy. These were not ships built for carnage, but for restraint. They could shut down any Imperial vessel without harming its crew. "Sir," Turner reported to Parker, his voice filled with controlled excitement. "Colonial forces report success in securing 70% of targeted Imperial installations. The quantum network is maintaining stability. The Empire's communication systems were in chaos, their once mighty infrastructure crumbling under the weight of Earth's surprise offensive." Parker nodded grimly. This was no longer just a defense of Earth, it was the beginning of a revolution. Decades of preparation were now paying off, as human forces throughout Imperial space revealed themselves, armed with technology that made Imperial weapons look primitive by comparison. The Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve and ingenuity. This was no longer a battle for survival, it was a battle for freedom, for independence, and for the future of the galaxy. "Send word to Admiral Wright," Parker ordered. "Phase 5 has begun." The message was clear. Earth was no longer a passive player in the galactic theater. Humanity had taken its place at the table, and the Empire would have to reckon with the consequences. The time for negotiations was over. The time for revolution had arrived. As the message was sent, the tension in the Earth Defense Command Center reached a breaking point. Admiral Wright stood resolute, his voice firm as he addressed both his staff and the Imperial fleet still lingering at the edge of Earth's solar system. "You've seen our fleet," he began, looking across the faces of his officers, each one aware of the monumental stakes they were about to face. "You've seen our colonies rise up. Now you have one final chance. Withdraw from Earth space, or we will be forced to demonstrate our full capabilities." The command center fell silent, the weight of Wright's words hanging in the air like a storm about to break. Out in the vast expanse of space, the Imperial fleet found itself caught in an impossible dilemma. For centuries, they had swept across the galaxy, conquering world after world, crushing any resistance with overwhelming might. They had never failed to subjugate a civilization, never once met a foe capable of standing against them. But this time, they were facing something entirely different. Earth, a world they had dismissed as primitive for so long, had spent centuries quietly preparing for this very moment. They had anticipated the Empire's invasion and spent generations developing technologies that not only matched the Empire's but surpassed it in ways no one could have foreseen. For the first time in its history, the Imperial fleet was staring down a civilization that could not only resist them but potentially defeat them. The decision before them was one that none of them had ever faced before. Retreat or fight an opponent that had spent over 200 years specifically preparing for this battle. As Admiral Wright and his crew waited for the Imperial fleet's response, Commander Mary Parker stood on the bridge of the EDF Horizon, Earth's most advanced warship. She knew that the next few moments would determine the outcome of this confrontation. Whether it ended in a peaceful withdrawal by the Empire or escalated into the first full-scale demonstration of humanity's technological might would be decided soon. Earth's hidden fleet, concealed for decades beneath Jupiter's storm clouds, and throughout the outer reaches of the solar system, was now revealed in full force. Ships powered up, their quantum drives humming to life, ready to move into position at a moment's notice. But this was only the beginning. The real test was yet to come. In the Grand Chamber of Earth's United Defense Council, General Lisa Ward stood before the cameras, the weight of history upon her shoulders. Behind her stood representatives from every nation, colony, and hidden human settlement that had been part of Earth's secret preparations for centuries. The chamber itself was a testament to Earth's true advancements, filled with holographic displays, quantum computers, and technologies that even the Empire's most brilliant scientists could not understand. The Galactic Empire had long seen Earth as a mere blip in the cosmic expanse, a primitive world with no hope of competing in the galaxy. Today, Earth would show the Empire how wrong they had been. Ward's voice echoed across the galaxy, translated into every known language, reaching the ears of every imperial world, every ship in orbit, and every colonial outpost under imperial rule. "I speak on behalf of Earth and humanity," she began, her tone measured but powerful. "For centuries, we have watched, waited, and prepared. Today, that preparation ends, and a new era begins." Images flashed across every screen, showing Earth's greatest achievements. The quantum shield system, the fleets hidden in the outer solar system, the vast network of colonies that had flourished right under the Empire's nose. It was a stunning revelation, a declaration of strength that the Empire had never anticipated. "The Galactic Empire," Ward continued, "has ruled through fear and force. They demanded submission and called it peace. Today, we reject that approach." The broadcast intensified, showing Earth's powerful defensive technologies, the fleets that could now sail between stars, and the colonial networks that stretched across the galaxy, all constructed without the Empire ever knowing. "Earth and the entire solar system are hereby declared a sovereign independent territory," Ward announced firmly, "permanently off-limits to Imperial forces." Back aboard the Imperial flagship, Commander Grant watched in disbelief as the broadcast was transmitted across the galaxy. His own crew, once confident in their superiority, now whispered nervously among themselves. Earth's broadcast was not just a declaration of independence. It was an offer to others. Earth was offering its technological advancements to any world suffering under Imperial rule. "We offer an alternative," Ward's voice continued. "Earth's quantum shield technology, our defensive systems, our advancements. We will share them with any system that wishes to claim its independence." The impact was immediate. The Imperial Admiralty erupted in chaos as word of Earth's bold message spread. Earth was not just declaring its independence. It was offering freedom to others in the Empire. The strategy was clear. The Galactic Empire had ruled by force, but Earth now offered a peaceful way forward. For the first time, the Empire was being challenged, not with weapons and destruction, but with a message of hope and freedom. Wright, standing near Commander Parker's fleet at Jupiter, sent another signal across the system. Massive quantum gates began to open, their immense size allowing entire fleets to pass through. "We have established hidden shipyards throughout the galaxy," Wright's voice joined the broadcast. "For 200 years, we've been building, preparing, and waiting. We can protect any world that chooses freedom." Earth's message was clear. The Empire's reign of forced submission was over. The broadcast displayed more of Earth's technological marvels. Ships that could travel between stars in days rather than weeks. Weapons that could disable entire fleets without causing harm to the crew. Communication systems that were impossible to intercept or block. "You face a choice," Ward's voice echoed again. "Withdraw your forces from Earth space and begin diplomatic relations as equals, or face the consequences of your aggression. We do not seek war, but we have spent centuries preparing for it." To demonstrate Earth's power, Commander Parker activated the quantum disruption fields. Imperial ships, once invulnerable in their technological might, found their advanced systems shutting down. Weapons became powerless, engines sputtered and failed. It was not a battle of brute force but of precision and ingenuity, a battle that the Empire was ill-equipped to fight. "The technology you once thought so impressive," Ward continued, "is centuries behind ours. Not because we are naturally superior, but because we had the wisdom to wait, to learn, and to improve upon everything we discovered. Your overconfidence gave us the time we needed. The broadcast then shifted to show footage of Imperial colony worlds, now under Earth's control. But these were not worlds taken by force. No, they had been taken with precision, using technology so advanced it seemed almost magical to the Imperial forces. This is not a negotiation, Ward stated firmly. This is a declaration. Earth is closed to Imperial forces. The solar system is our sovereign territory, and to any world that wishes to join us in independence, our gates are open. To emphasize her point, the broadcast showed Earth's planetary defense grid coming online. The quantum shields around every planet and moon in the solar system became visible, a shimmering barrier of protection that no Imperial weapon could penetrate. You have 1 hour to begin your withdrawal, Ward concluded. After that, we will remove your forces ourselves. The broadcast ended, and its effect rippled across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, populations looked to the sky with newfound hope. For the first time, the Empire was faced with a civilization that would no longer bow to their rule. The age of Imperial dominance was over. The age of freedom had begun. Not just defeat, but irrelevance. The Imperial fleet had no more choices. Retreat or face the full power of a civilization that had spent 2 centuries preparing specifically for this exact moment. Earth had, in the shadows, built its power quietly and carefully, while the Empire had grown complacent, believing their superiority would remain unquestioned. But now it was clear. The Empire was no longer the dominant force in the galaxy. The next morning, as Earth's sun rose, it cast its light over an empty sky. The Imperial fleet, after centuries of unbroken conquest, had retreated during the night, slipping away through faster-than-light jumps back to Imperial space. For the first time in its history, the Empire had backed down. Admiral Wright stood in the orbital observation deck of Earth Defense Station 1, gazing out at the vast expanse of space, his mind processing the enormity of what had just occurred. The holographic displays before him showed the dramatic changes unfolding across the galaxy. Changes that no one could have predicted. Beside him, Commander Parker and General Lisa Ward watched intently, monitoring the reports flooding in through Earth's vast quantum communication network. 17 more systems have requested protection, Parker reported, her voice calm but filled with a quiet sense of victory. As she spoke, the holographic map of the galaxy updated, green dots appearing across the screen to represent worlds that had declared their independence from the Empire and joined the Free Systems Alliance. Our colonial forces are already deploying quantum shield generators to each one, she continued, the rapid deployment of Earth's most advanced technology beginning to reshape the galaxy's power dynamics. Ward nodded, her face reflecting the weight of the moment. Earth had not only secured its own independence, but it was now providing protection and security to others who had long been oppressed by Imperial rule. And the Empire? Wright asked, his gaze fixed on the display. In chaos, Ward replied, her voice laced with a mix of satisfaction and urgency. Their fleet is scattered, trying to maintain control over their core worlds. 3 Imperial governors have already contacted us, requesting asylum and offering to switch sides. Wright's eyes narrowed as he examined the latest intelligence. The Empire, once the undisputed power of the galaxy, was crumbling before them. The Empire's territory, which had once covered nearly 60% of the known galaxy, was shrinking rapidly, not through violence or conquest, but because they could no longer enforce their will. Commander Grant, a former Imperial officer who had defected to the Free Systems Alliance, now requested to speak with Wright and his team. An officer on the bridge signaled, and Grant's image appeared on the screen. Admiral Wright, General Ward, Commander Parker, Grant said, his voice tinged with the unmistakable mix of admiration and fear. The Imperial Council has convened an emergency session. They're voting to formally recognize Earth's independence. Ward raised an eyebrow. Just Earth's? She asked, skeptical. Grant shook his head. No. They're being forced to recognize the independence of any world protected by Earth's technology. Your quantum shields render their weapons useless. They have no choice. In the 2 days since Earth's declaration of independence, Humanity's hidden preparations had completely transformed the galactic balance of power. The quantum gates, placed strategically over centuries, allowed Earth's forces to respond instantly to any world that requested aid. A new power had emerged, one built not on domination, but on protection, knowledge, and unity. Wright ordered the display of the Free Systems Alliance's progress, and the galactic map shifted to show the growing coalition. Blue markers now appeared across the screen, representing the nearly 200 worlds that had already joined the Alliance, with more requesting membership every hour. The promise we made to share our defensive technology with other worlds is what made this possible, Wright said, his voice filled with a sense of awe at what Earth had achieved. The quantum shield technology had proven to be the key to dismantling Imperial dominance, allowing worlds to resist Imperial control and thrive under the protection of Earth's forces. Resistance against the Empire is no longer just possible, Wright continued, it's safe. The Empire's reign of fear is ending. Parker nodded. We've received a priority message from the center colonies, she said. The first batch of quantum shield generators has been successfully installed. They're reporting that Imperial forces have withdrawn from the entire sector. Wright smiled, feeling the weight of the moment lift. Earth was not just surviving, it was changing the galaxy. He walked to the window, looking down at Earth below. The orbital rings, once hidden behind stealth fields, were now visible to all. Ships moved freely between the quantum gates, carrying technology, resources, and hope to distant worlds that had long been oppressed. Begin Phase S, Wright ordered. Share the educational database with all Alliance members. It's time for them to learn how to build these technologies themselves. This had always been the plan. Earth had not just prepared to defend itself, but to transform the galaxy. The educational materials, compiled over centuries of research, would now be made available to all members of the Free Systems Alliance. This was the final step in ensuring that the technological advancements humanity had made could spread, allowing other worlds to replicate Earth's achievements and continue the work of liberation. As Wright spoke, an officer interrupted. Sir, we're detecting a transmission from Imperial High Command. The room fell silent as the message played. The Empire, the same Empire that had once looked down on Earth as a primitive, insignificant world, was now formally recognizing the independence of Earth and all worlds under the protection of its technology. What was even more remarkable was that the Empire was requesting to open diplomatic channels, not as rulers but as equals. Well, Wright said, a small smile playing at the corner of his mouth, it seems we've achieved our goal without firing a shot. Parker, standing beside him, nodded in agreement. 200 years of preparation, she said, just to avoid a war. The best victory, she added, is the one where your opponent chooses to change. The galactic map continued to update in real time as more worlds joined the Free Systems Alliance. Earth had gone from being considered a primitive backwater to the center of a new galactic order. An order based on mutual protection, shared knowledge, and freedom, rather than conquest and subjugation. In the orbital station's main hall, representatives from dozens of worlds were already gathering for the first official Alliance Council meeting. Former Imperial worlds sat alongside long-hidden human colonies, all united by the promise of freedom and the protection of Earth's technology. Admiral Wright surveyed the scene with a sense of profound satisfaction. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment. They had built in secret, advanced their technology, and waited for the right time to act. Now that time had come. Earth would help guide the galaxy toward a better future, not through force or fear, but through protection, cooperation, and the sharing of knowledge. The age of the Empire was over. The age of freedom had begun. And it all started because Earth had simply said no.